Hi, my name is Brian Riggs, and this is the Spanish Guitar Techniques series. And this is the third lesson in the series, Rasgueado. So Rasgueado is one of the most fun techniques, I think, to do. It's great, it's not super hard, it's kind of fun to get started right away. So Rasgueado is just the Spanish term for a strum. So instead of like a strum, like we kind of think of it maybe with a pick, where you're kind of like, brushing towards the floor. It's kind of more of like a percussive kind of technique, where you're kind of going to hit the string. Get a really kind of like nice, loud, percussive sound. And that kind of developed because flamenco music in Spain, they played with singers and they had dancers using heels to kind of like stomp out rhythms and percussionists. So a nylon-string guitar would have to play pretty loud to cut through all that sound and to be heard. So they kind of developed this technique of kind of really cutting through the strings. So I'll play like a short study that I've included along with this lesson, just to give you an example of what you can do with a Rasgueado technique. You can totally use any song or progression that you're already playing, but I just included one to give you something to work with. And we'll kind of look at the technique and see if we can get you going and playing on it right away. So here's the study. Alright, so let's take a look at how we're going to do a Rasgueado. As I said, a Rasgueado technique is kind of like a strumming technique, but instead of using a pick, you can use your fingers. So what I'm going to do is use my index finger, or my eye finger, in Spanish guitar notation. But I'm going to use that finger to kind of like hit the strings kind of from above. So I'm actually going to like flick it out, kind of like if you're flicking a paper football, that kind of motion. And as always, you kind of want your main thrust to be from that knuckle joint. So once again, if you think of your finger like a leg, this is like the hip joint, and it's like propelling out from there. So I'll stick with my trusty A minor chord here, my left hand. What I'm going to do is actually going to anchor my thumb, or P, if you watch the other lessons, you know by now, anchored on the low E string. Now I'm holding on to that just so my hand can feel the strings really good, but you just want to make sure that you're not like doing kind of one of these deals where you're kind of pressing it towards the floor, like you're really pressing really hard. You kind of see my finger, it's getting white. So yeah, I just want it to be very relaxed. It's just so you just can stabilize your hand, basically. Your wrist is just nice and loose. I'm going to make sure it's never locked. What I'm going to kind of do is I'm going to kind of think as much as possible. Think like I'm like hitting the strings in towards the guitar, like in towards my stomach, as opposed to kind of brushing. Although it is kind of a nice sound. We want something a little more aggressive. Now, typically on the beat, you're going to be going 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're going to be going like an out motion. So you want to kind of basically go from having your finger at that kind of nice relaxed state to being all the way extended. And that's a really great exercise for your right hand because it really works like these extenders on. You can really feel it in the top part of your hand. A lot of the techniques we do kind of are really good for kind of going in towards the palm of your hand, but this is kind of like the opposite, and it kind of like just kind of develop those muscles and those tendons. So it's really good. So then if you want to do on the off beats, in between the beats, you come back in. Now sometimes I know this gives people trouble. You're still moving when you come in. You're still moving from that knuckle joint here. What you want to do is make sure these joints here aren't resisting at all. They're just kind of like, they're kind of jelly. They're kind of bones. This is actually one of those techniques where it's actually easier to go faster. It's very loose. So you can kind of get that going right away. So once you get that going right away, we can kind of think we'll do a 4/4 kind of pattern. So we'll do 4 beats per measure, and then have a quarter note just equal 1 beat. So we'll go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So I'll go from A chord here to an E chord here. But you can use any chord progression you want. Let's look at the study really quick that I played just a minute ago. So we're going to go to a D minor chord. Now I included this because I think it's kind of just good to get the coordination between the right hand and the left hand. Most of the techniques in this series will kind of focus on the right hand because that's really what produces the sound. But it's good to have the coordination with the left hand as well. So when you do the D minor chord, 1 and what I'm doing is I'm putting my pinky down on the high E string on the 3rd fret, and lifting it. So I'm 1 and 2 and 3 lifted up. then keep going. Kind of do the same thing, but with just an A minor chord underneath it. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and here I kind of go to like a mini E chord. And I do a mini E chord because if I'm holding on with my thumb to the low E string, I can't really, it's kind of hard for me to get all 6 strings anyways. So I'm only getting 4 strings, so I'm kind of putting the nail of my index finger, the front part of the nail, on the D string, and then going, really hitting that string so I can really cut through the sound there. So then here I'm going to put my pinky on the B string on the 3rd fret. So 1 and 2 and take off 3, put it back on. Second half we go. Then here I'll do an A7 chord. Now here you can use your 3rd finger or your pinky. I like to use my pinky. I think that's really easy. Like I can just kind of plop it down. I don't have to really try hard. But if you want to reach with your 3rd finger, but that's easier for you, you can totally do it that way. But same pattern. 1 and 2 and then back to our like little mini E chord. So we have the 1st finger on the G 1st fret, 2nd finger on the D 2nd fret, 3 and 4. And so once again that measures the same way. And 2 and take off 3. Let's hit a nice A minor chord to finish it up. So hopefully you have something to work with the Rasgueado technique. As you go on, you can start to add different fingers. For this lesson today, we're just going to kind of focus on doing that one finger. It's a really good place to start. But you can kind of use different combinations of fingers to kind of do all kinds of different rhythms. It's a really good exercise, as I was saying before. It's actually really good for your tremolo technique, which we talked about in the last lesson. Because tremolo, we do A finger, M finger, and I finger. So for the Rasgueado, we kind of do the opposite. We kind of like we do the same fingering, but instead of going in towards the palm of your hand, you go the opposite motion and go out. So it's really good for strengthening your hand. So give it a shot with some chords or a song that you're playing and see if you can incorporate that into your playing. So hope you find this helpful. Thanks for watching.